Another Monday, another conversation. As you know, Mindful Mondays is designed to help us build relationships that help us thrive. And relationships in this context is looked at broadly: relationships with yourself, with others, with family, love relationships, which is a common fave. So we just got through 4 conversations around building a relationship with yourself, and this week, just to cement it, we're just ensuring that we make it land. So we started our conversation with getting to know yourself. Who are you? What are your triggers? What sets you on? What sets you off? How well do you know yourself? Where have you been, and what have those things done to you? And how do those things show up in your daily life? Then we got into self-love, where we talked about if it is selfish, it's not really love. So this is where we dived into looking at 1 Corinthians 13 and replacing your name with the love is part, and seeing if you can be all the things you think you are to others, to yourself. Having a healthy perspective of self. It is more than the self-care, taking bubble baths and vacations, but it's also about going deeper, searching, which was building upon the getting to know yourself. What are the things that break you, and what are the things that make you, and where do you want to go, and how are you feeding into that? And the next thing we spoke about was setting boundaries, and Doc beautifully elaborated how setting boundaries is thinking of yourself like a house that is fenced. And when a house that is fenced has a gate, people know when to enter, where to enter, how to enter. And before they do enter, they either knock or they hit the bars, and then you let them in. You say come in or not. And we also spoke about the importance of valuing what is on the inside, and that is why we protect that. And that's why boundaries are important. Boundaries are important in your workspace, boundaries are important in a family life, boundaries are important in relationships. The idea is not to depreciate yourself to the point where you have nothing left. If you die, you will be replaced. Unfortunately, that's just how life goes. So you set boundaries that preserve you, but that also ensure that other agendas, for instance in the workspace, move forward, because that is why you are there. It's to do the work. So boundaries, like you say, it is valuing what is on the inside from a healthy perspective, where you think win-win. So if you're, for instance, in a workspace, you're ensuring that the contractual obligations that you have are seen through. At the same time, you're not depleting yourself to a point of death or unhealthy situations where your health is compromised. But also, this is a conversation that can be dived into further, especially when we get into the next leg, when we talked about growth and resilience. So depending on where you want to go as an individual, especially when we look at work-life balance, there are seasons that are going to call you to make a bit more sacrifice, and sometimes it can affect your health, but it's not advisable that these things bring you to the brink of death, or that it becomes the standard and the norm that you are constantly breaking your back. So if you're a person who is in corporate and looking to climb the ladder to, let's say, the position of MD, there are going to be seasons that are going to demand a lot more from you, and sometimes that can affect your health. But the most important caveat to place is to understand that that cannot be a consistent lifestyle, because you will get to MD, pass out, or cut your lifespan short. So it's important to strike this balance. So growth and resilience was a really big topic, and the most important one, because once you figured out who you are as a person and where you want to go, then you can place parameters for the how to get there. So when we talked about growth and resilience, we talked about getting clarity of vision. If you're a career person, what is your career plan? Where do you want to go? What are your expertise? Where are you strong at? What is your education? How does that match with who you are and where you want to go? Basically, what is the strategy? So it's one thing to be self-aware, to get to know yourself. It's another thing to then love yourself in a healthy way so that you can show up beautifully in the places where you need to be. It's important to set boundaries. But now when you have done these things, it's important to grow, because you are not designed to stay put in one place, and that is where frustration comes from when you don't grow. And here we believe progress and not perfection. You take baby steps every day to grow to become who you say you want to become, but no one can tell you who that is except you. You are the one who understands what your strengths, your weaknesses are. What can you leverage? How do you manage your time? You're the one who knows your personality. How do you ensure that you are growing? There's certain things you can put in place. If you're not clear where you want to take, for instance, your career, these days there are a lot of people who do career coaching. These people can help you clarify where you have come from, where you are, and they help you clarify where you may need to go. But they are not the decision makers. You are. That power lies with you. There are relationship coaches. There are certain people who like close relationships. Let's be close. Let's, almost codependent relationships. And then there are other people who value the independence. And you find that one person from this group and another group get together, and it's not that they're bad people, but the relationship doesn't work because they have different ideals of what a relationship should look like. Get to know yourself so that when you're getting into a relationship with people, you don't bash each other or create traumas because you have not clarified what your expectations are in relationships, which goes back to knowing yourself. What do you want? What do you expect? And then having the boldness to set boundaries and say, okay, yeah, maybe I do like you, but this is why this relationship can't work, because your values are not aligned with mine. What I expect or what defines a mutually satisfying relationship for me, I cannot achieve in this context because you are going that way. Or you may find that when you have these conversations with these people, they are teachable, or they are willing, or they are malleable, and because they care about you, you can meet halfway. You meet them where they need, they meet you where you need, and then you can have a mutually fulfilling relationship. But all this to say that it is very, very difficult to move forward, to grow into the other relationships, like which we will dive in the next few episodes, where you are fully present, whether it's a familiar relationship, a love relationship, and a relationship with your employer. If you don't know yourself well, if you go into a job and you're expecting to receive the love and healing that should have happened in your own personal life, you will find jobs very unsatisfying. You will find relationships very unsatisfying because there's certain work that you needed to work on yourself that they cannot fulfill. Which is why these 4 or 5 conversations we had were so important, because the foundation, next to the foundation of the relationship with God, is the relationship that you have with yourself. Who are you? What makes you tick? What's your vision? Where do you want to go? I mean, even if you don't have the strategy just yet, when you think about it broadly, who are you? Where do you want to go? What makes you tick? If no one was judging, what would you be doing? What would you be achieving? What would you be pursuing? Those are initial good indicators for where you would like to go. So I encourage you, even as we wrap up this conversation, for you to go back on the conversations that we have had so that you can pick up a thing or two before we dive into the next conversation. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for joining me. Bye.